It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game.
Come on! The Lakers!
Oh, yeah. We're back. Better than ever. On this gorgeous Monday. On this Earth Day Monday. Today is Earth Day, is it not? Well, happy Earth Day to all my fellow Earthlings out there and all my aliens out there also listening via the Odyssey app. Because not only are we national, international, we're interplanetary, intergalactic. How about that? Shout out to Beastie Boys. That's what we are here on the Pregame Show. Joe Spadoni. You got me for the next hour before handing the baton off to Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. And there's a lot to get into. And you might not think that. You know, I kind of got the pulse of the Bay Area fan last night. You know, I sent out my tweet. It's like, what's hitting you right now? Bay Area sports fan? What's really, gnawing at you? Is it the Warriors offseason? It's still pretty raw. What's going to go on with Klay Thompson, Chris Paul, Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, all these guys? What's going on with the Golden State Warriors? And I get it. We're starting to see the little paint chip away at the dynasty here. The wallpaper coming undone. Now they're going to get some new wallpaper. They're going to do a new paint job. Do they need to go all new color? Or are they, just doing a coat over it and running it back? We'll see. So that was the overwhelming majority of what people wanted to talk about on said poll. And by the way, you can follow me at Spadoni_Joe on the app formerly known as Twitter. Also hit me up on Twitch or YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Search 95.7 The Game, like, subscribe. We're streaming all day long, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. through 7 p.m. Start with Spadoni, end with the Grandy Man. By the way, the Grandy Man, Evan Giddings and Sterling Bennett going to be on the NFL draft coverage for 95.7 The Game, 6 to 10 this Thursday. You heard the draft sounder in the open. It is draft week. I kind of like that one with all the people talking in the background. It kind of makes it a little authentic. Caleb Williams, going to go number 1 overall to Chicago. That's a layup. I think he's already meeting with the team captains for dinner. He's not even meeting with the coaches. So that just, goes to show you how confident Chicago is in their guy. And why shouldn't they be? It's almost like during this process, we've just slept on how great of a pick this is going to be for the Chicago Bears. Like, if they somehow screw this up, then that would be, even for Bear standards, amazing. Because Caleb Williams is one of the best prospects we've seen in college football in the last century. It's Andrew Luck, it's Trevor Lawrence, and it's Caleb Williams. Those are the three of this century. I'm not going all time, but of this century. Guys that are slam dunks at both running the ball, throwing it, processing, elite arm angles, can throw it from anywhere, you name it. And throughout this process, it's been like, oh yeah, Caleb Williams. Now, maybe because he's just such the overwhelming favorite, number 1 overall, we've all just been kind of like, yeah, that's cool. But what about Jaden Daniels? What's going to go on J.J. McCarthy? I've heard J.J. McCarthy's name more than I have Caleb Williams in the last month. Ugh. Again, you guys have been listening to me ad nauseum here. I don't get the infatuation with him. I don't understand why he is going to be a top 5 pick. Maybe that's just all smoke. Maybe it's lying season and he ends up falling down. But that's really the intrigue for me, is what's going to go on with these quarterbacks. Now, here locally for the San Francisco 49ers, I think it's all eyes on Brandon Ayuk. I don't even know. I don't even care what their pick is late. It could be Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. I just like the name. He was a good player at Alabama. I love Alabama's secondary players, whether it's safety, whether it's corner. Saban knows how to coach those guys up. By the way, Nick Saban is going to be on draft coverage, I believe, for ESPN. Can't wait for that. I think Bill Belichick's doing it with Pat McAfee. That'll be interesting. Belichick surprisingly vibes well with him, but also credit to Pat McAfee. He's a great interviewer. Some might not be into his shtick, but the guy can interview well. What can I say? So we got Warriors, we got Niners. What's going to go on with Ayuk? I think if he would get traded, I believe it would be on draft night. I think the odds of that happening are few and far between, but not the craziest thing that would happen. Like if I told Niner fans that this Thursday Brandon Ayuk would be traded for a first round pick, the amount of them that would be shocked. Maybe 40%, maybe, but you've paid Debo, you've paid George Kittle, you acquired McCaffrey, who was already on a deal. You've paid all these guys. Logically, it would make sense to pay Brandon Ayuk, but, and it's a big but, shout out Kim Kardashian, you got Brock Purdy's contract on the horizon to think about. That throws a monkey wrench into the entire situation. So I would not, hold it against the Niners if they decided, you know what? I'm so damn good. I'm Kyle Shanahan. I can run this offense to a T. I've got Christian McCaffrey. I've got Kittle still. I got Debo. This is a deep wide receiver class. Why not just, restart that position, if you will? Why not? Now, do I think he should do that? No. Do I think Brandon Ayuk is an extreme luxury for Brock Purdy? I do. And that you should try to make your young quarterback happy in each and every way possible? Yes. But we've seen it. Once guys get paid, and unless you're Tom Brady and you're willing to take a pay cut, which I don't think Brock Purdy, I should say, is going to be doing that in this case. Why? Because this is going to be his first contract and the guy wants to get paid and he deserves to get paid if he balls out this season. So, again, it all goes back to this next season for Brock Purdy being massive and barring a complete collapse, he will get paid. Now, I'm interested to see how that looks this year. If he does have kind of an average year, and we haven't seen average from Brock Purdy, we've only seen above average to great play from him since he's been a starter for the San Francisco 49ers. So it's interesting. So, Warriors offseason, Niners draft this Thursday. Brandon Ayuk, what are they going to do with their first rounder? We've got Giants, the team that's actually, playing in their regular season. When you get to him, Spadoni, well, they split their home set against the Arizona Diamondbacks, the defending NL champions. I don't know what to make of the Giants yet. And I think that's okay to say. I don't think a lot of people do. They're 10-13 right now. The NL West is jumbled. Giants are fourth, but you got the D-backs right in front of them and just a game above at 11-12. You got the Padres at 12-12, and you got the Dodgers right there at 13-11. It's kind of been a disappointing season so far for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That would be the story if there's any in the NL West right now. Dodgers are disappointing, and I'm sure the Giants fans just hate to see that. Dodgers are 3-7 in their last 10, and they're kind of, taking on water in their boat while everyone else is treading water in the NL West. But again, it's April 22nd, and this is why I posed the question. What's hitting you about the San Francisco Giants more so than the other things I would ask? And right now, I'm seeing a lot of my timeline, and I see it when I'm watching the game, and I see how the fans react to certain players. And that player right now that fans are reacting to and gravitating to is Jung-Hoo Lee. And we thought that at the start of the season. Thank you. I kind of feel, I know it's Korean, but I get like an anime feel to it, like the start of like a One Piece episode or a Naruto. It gets me fired up, I'm not going to lie. We're used to all these different chants and all these different games, like high school stuff. Hey, bring that on. That should just be his openings. Like, what is his walk-up song, Sam? Do you know what it is? Do you know what Jung-Hoo Lee's walk-up song is? I'm throwing you on the spot here. 95.7 The Game's own Giants insider, garlic fries and baseball guy, Sam Lubman.
I don't remember what his isn't my up. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't remember
good,
what his
good.
actual walk-up song was. The Giants did release it though. I could pull it up in a
I
second.
saw that they posted all the walk-up songs, which is pretty cool.
Honestly, the truth is, it's kind of hard to hear his walk-up song because the entire crowd is chanting Jung-Hoo Lee, Jung-Hoo Lee. It is so awesome. The Jung-Hoo Lee effect, it is absolutely real right now at Oracle Park.
I mean, and they've played 3 weeks, and it's only taken that long. Like, the Giants were dying for someone to gravitate towards too. Like last year, it felt like you were pulling teeth for Jock Peterson, right? It felt like you were pulling.
Who got a lot of boos when he stepped to the plate this week, as well as he should.
I mean, we got a Pasoy problem in the clubhouse. Just ask Daryl the Guru Johnson.
And we got a Pasoy problem in the clubhouse.
Thanks, Gil. Pirates fading right now, but don't worry. Jolly Roger's not sinking just yet. It's early.
Trust in Joey Bart.
I feel
Giants
bad.
didn't do that.
Yeah, he got hurt. I think he got hit in the head recently. So
I saw he was day to day.
Yeah.
I picked him up in fantasy for a couple of days, and then I dropped him.
Yeah,
much like the Giants.
Speaking of fantasy, now that you brought it up, and we'll get back to the Giants in a second. We'll get back to all your calls and texts, 888-957-9570. What's hitting you right now, Bay Area sports fans? We got the NFL draft this week. We got Warriors offseason. We got the Giants splitting in Arizona. It's kind of a potpourri, if you will. Hell, we got NBA playoffs we can get into. A lot happening this past weekend. But first of all, my brother invites me to this league for fantasy baseball. I wasn't in one this year, but he hits me up a couple days before his friend's draft. He's like, hey, do you want to join this league? You know, it's fun. It's a 10-person, all sorts of stuff. I was like, yeah, sure. I'll join the league. It's fair. Join it. Fine. Standard league, head-to-head every week. All the scoring seems to be fine. But I come to find out, I think it was on Monday. Maybe it was a Tuesday. You know, go to change my player, go to change my rotation lineup. It's like, all right, who's fading, who's in, who should I spot start, all this sort of stuff. Come to find out, I can't change, my third baseman. I wanted to put in Royce Lewis instead of, or who is it? It was JD Davis, someone. JD Davis or Royce Lewis, whatever. I think Royce Lewis was in, but he got hurt pretty soon. And I wanted to bench him, but I couldn't. Why? Can I not do that? Because I am now in a weekly set fantasy league. And if you don't know what that is, it means you set your lineups prior to 10 o'clock on Monday or whatever the first game is on Monday. And I believe it is 10 o'clock because the A's are taking on the Yankees today in Yankee Stadium on a 10 o'clock on a Monday, which is interesting. By the way, John Sterling, yes, our beloved John Sterling, saying goodbye to Yankees fans and all of us who are John Sterling fans this past Saturday. They honored him as the Yankees said goodbye to JS, my guy. But the weekly set fantasy baseball league might be the worst thing in the history of fantasy sports. Not only can I not change my lineup if a guy's hurt, if a guy is going to get a little queasy, or I can't change him if he's just flat out awful. I'm stuck. What kind of fresh hell is this? Do people like doing weekly sets in fantasy baseball? It's for the lazy. My brother's older than me. He's in his 40s. Probably has a bunch of dad friends that are just lazy and don't want to change their lineups. I'm calling all of them out. It's laziness, and I'm not standing for it. Part of the fun in fantasy baseball, people, is being able to pay attention. Like, that's the thing. That's what separates the men from the boys in fantasy baseball. You're actually paying attention to starter trends, to closers that are emerging. Who's hot right now? Like, Paul Goldschmidt is god-awful right now. And I have him, just like a lot of people have him, as their first baseman. And I don't want to move him because I know he's going to get consistent at-bats. But if this wasn't a weekly set league, if this was a normal league, as I'm calling it, I could bench his ass. I need to know, do people like this? 888-957-9570. I'm genuinely curious. And I'm not big into fantasy, sports on the radio. There's different shows for that, specifically during football season, which I know is a lot bigger. But this is just the worst. I need to vent about it. I'm sorry. I just needed to. Good morning to all of you on the Xfinity mobile text line, 888-957-9570. 510. And again, I said it's a potpourri this morning on the pregame show, Joe Spadoni. 510. Did you see Harbaugh's janky jailhouse tattoo? I did see that. What does it say? It has the Michigan logo, right? The M and then 15-0. Oh, man. Harbaugh. That guy's something else. I'm fascinated to see what he does on draft night. Is he going to go get a lot of his Michigan players that just won a national championship and that are going to be available? Like everyone's linking Blake Corum, their running back, to them because the starting running back right now for the Los Angeles Chargers is Gus Edwards, and I like the Gus bus. I don't know if I like him as my 1A, but if I can get a young rookie like a Blake Corum in there beside him, not mad at it. Not mad at it at all. So what's going to go on there with the Chargers? What's going to go on with the Niners? What's going to go on with all these guys? NFL draft, again, can't freaking wait. So we covered the Warriors, Giants, NFL draft. That just leaves the NBA playoffs. That started this past weekend. And no, I'm sorry to my Stanley Cup peeps. Stanley Cup playoffs, I know started. NHL, I'm just, not hitting me. No Sidney Crosby, no Penguins. I know we got Alexander Ovechkin and the Caps taking on the Rangers. No Sharks. Sometimes the NHL playoffs are hitting, but when they're coinciding with the NBA playoffs, and NBA playoffs is dominating the weekend, it's hard. It's tough. But I got love for all you NHL cats out there. I do. I got love for you guys. Just not going to talk about it on the show. But recapping what took place this weekend. Nuggets are still the Nuggets. They took the Lakers' best punch in the first half, and they were only down 3. And then they flipped to another level. D'Angelo Russell turned into Kobe Bryant, but I'm talking like 36-year-old Kobe, torn Achilles Kobe, and just hucking and shucking out there, and just missing. Turnover. Darvin Ham, are you going to sub him out? No, I'm not. I'm not going to put Gabe Vincent in. No, I'm not. LeBron James, are you going to do anything in the fourth quarter? No. Nuggets, I think their starters only turned it over once. Again, there's levels to this, and it's why I said heading into the playoffs, the Nuggets are on a tier above everyone else. It's the Nuggets and then everyone else. And that goes for the Celtics too, who I know flex their muscles on the Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat. So they take care of their business. Clippers. Yeah, no Kawhi, no problem. Smashed the Mavericks yesterday, 109-97. That was a little fishy to me too. Mavericks on the road, are they good enough that everyone's just saying, oh, you got to watch out? I understand they were a lot of people's dark horse. I need to see it first. I know Luka has been to a conference final, and that was kind of an overachieving year. And as we've all established, kind of a weird year in the West. Warriors just kind of handling their business against everyone. It was a down year. Celtics, probably the best team all season long that year. And then the Warriors, flexed their muscles and said, actually, no, we are. So I need to wait and see with the Dallas Mavericks, Luka, Kyrie, and that tandem still. Now, they might still win that series. No Kawhi is still a very big deal. That's kind of my overarching theme of the past weekend. There was a lot of blowouts. There was also a lot of missing players. Like no Giannis. No Kawhi. No Jimmy Butler. That sucks. And it speaks to a larger problem in the NBA to me, and something that's never going to change. And no Zion, by the way, too. I knew him as a superstar. No Zion. That was actually the only good game of the weekend for me, really. It's Thunder Pelicans. Thunder almost jobbed that late there yesterday. They didn't. A young team. That's why a lot of people thought the Lakers maybe should have tanked their game and not taken on the Nuggets. We'll see. Thunder are a good team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, when it mattered most, and he's an MVP candidate, put the team on their back. That is what an MVP player does. That's what a guy like Dame Lillard did for the Milwaukee Bucks. No Giannis. But again, as a consumer, I'm seeing all these blowouts and I'm seeing all these missing stars. It's left wanting if I'm the consumer. And it goes back to the games played, and it goes back to all this. They tried to incentivize rewards and awards for these guys by playing more than, 65 games to be award eligible? I don't care about that. Fans just care about being eligible in the playoffs, and so do the players. And even when they try to load manage Kawhi, they're still getting hurt. And maybe Kawhi is an unfair example because that guy has just been a walking, MRI chart ever since, San Antonio days. That's why he left. That's why he got traded, because he didn't feel like he was up to his best with the Spurs. And they kept trying to rush him back. And it was his days. And was it Uncle Dennis and his crew? So he got shipped off to the Raptors. We know how all that went. 2019, Freddie VanVleet, Kyle Lowry. The rest is history. But I'm looking at guys like Giannis, who are still relatively young, who has a lot of injuries and wear and tear. I'm looking at Zion Williamson. Again, young, big guy. He's had the weight problems, but he had that hamstring injury. I'm looking at all these players. Jimmy Butler, a lot of wear and tear there. It really does feel like it is a war of attrition, more so than ever in the NBA, and the ones that pay for it are the consumers. It's as simple as that. And maybe I'm all alone on this one. Maybe everyone enjoyed the action. I just was watching some of the games. I was like, can we get some competition? Like the Pacers just no-showed. Heat, no Jimmy Butler, but they no-showed. Pelicans, Thunder, okay. Two young teams. Mavericks no-showed. What was their excuse? Luka and Kyrie both healthy. Suns no-showed. Magic, God love them, they can't shoot. Knicks, Sixers, fun game. But Embiid, another guy, hurt. Can I just have my star players not get hurt? Like, what is going on? That's what I guess my overarching question is. Maybe I should ask Doc Pondia. Like, these injuries, is it strictly, the amount of games played? Like, I'm trying to find an answer to that question, because I didn't remember all these stars getting hurt as much when I was younger. And maybe I was just young and naive. Maybe the older demographic can help me out. 888-957-9570. I want to shout out Evan Giddings and Dan Devone, who wrapped up Warriors this week. Their final Warriors this week episode this past Saturday. They were there every single Saturday. Was it 9 to 12, 9 to 1, what have you? Shout out those guys carrying the Warriors content all season long, and Evan Giddings and Mark Grandy pre and post game breaking it all down. And they left some sound up on their board that I want to get to, specifically with Mike Dunleavy, Steve Kerr, and Bobby Marks saying some interesting things. Now, I missed Friday's show. Had some family dealings. Shout out Young Benjamin. Hurt tummy. Feeling better now, though. Crushing it. But I didn't get a chance to react to what Bobby Marks had to say with Willard and Dibbs. Bobby Marks, obviously, former GM of the Brooklyn Nets, the capologist, if you will, for ESPN now when it comes to the NBA. And this one really stuck out to me. I think this really paints a picture for Warriors fans that think they could just reset things and go grab another star. Bobby Marks kind of relayed the reality of the situation, and I think it was sobering for a lot of fans, and hell, it was to me. A guy that has no dog in the fight, looking at this dynasty potentially, coming to a close.
This is different than years before. This is different than combining two salaries and going out and get a $45 million player or a $50 million player. Where they are right now, it's not viable. Where they are right now, from now until June 30th, it's not viable. But you're basically kind of in a frozen transaction period where you ended the season with your finances, these new apron rules that started on Monday, the inability to take back more money, the inability to aggregate contracts, meaning combining salary. So if you wanted to go out and get a $48 million player, you wouldn't be able to combine Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green, for example, here. So for now, you're kind of in a holding pattern until you figure out what you're going to do with Chris Paul and what the price tag, if the goal is to bring back Klay Thompson, is. And then you can start figuring out as far as, where your salaries are, through some of the restrictions that are really strict right now, start to loosen in everything right now.
All right. So we know that. Then he was asked the question. By the way, you can find this entire interview on Willard and Dibbs, search 95.7 The Game on YouTube. Like, subscribe there. Find it there. Also, download the Odyssey app, favorite 95.7 The Game. You can take us wherever you want to go. You can find all the podcast chapters there. You can find everything. Pre-game show, morning roast, Willard Dibbs, Tiny Goo, all of it right there on 95.7 The Game. Bobby Marks asked if Golden State can bring back Clay plus get a star.
No, they can't. They can't because basically what will happen is Clay would replace, if you waived Chris, would replace that. You're basically right at the luxury tax. You sign Clay and you move Chris and you take back a $30 million player. The likelihood is that, you're going to be deep in the tax. You're going to be in the apron. And that's something, as you guys know, ownership has pretty much said no to unless, hey, things change. I mean, things are pretty fluid. We don't know who that next disgruntled player will be. But as I said, the challenge as far as going out and you basically got to go dollar for dollar on every trade, certainly presents a challenge.
So no, you can't bring back Clay plus get a star. But whenever he uses the word disgruntled, I don't know if I have any Curb Your Enthusiasm fans out there this morning. You know what I'm talking about this past season. Disgruntled. Every time I hear it now, I just think of, I'm disgruntled. Sorry. Shout out Larry David, the ending of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Jeff Garlin. All my guys. JB Smoove. God, if I had to go top 5 comedic shows of my lifetime, I might be number 1. It's just that damn good. I see myself and I see Larry David in myself more so than any other character, I feel like. And I think that's true for a lot of people. They're just too ashamed to admit it, that we're all Larry David deep down. We just aren't as out in the open with it and in your face about it as Larry David, LD, as they call him. We're up against it. Got to take a quick break. Come on back. Reacting to what Bobby Marks had to say there. What's the move? What's the singular move you're looking for, Golden State Warriors fans, this offseason that the team just has to make? Is it bringing back Klay Thompson? Is it bringing back Chris Paul? Is it getting rid of Andrew Wiggins? Is it trading a young guy like a Kuminga? Is it extending Kuminga? What is the move that you are looking for this squad this summer? 888-957-9570. Plus, we'll get more of your thoughts on the NBA playoffs, Giants splitting in Arizona, plus the NFL draft. Yes, it's this Thursday. Will Brandon Ayuk stay a 49er? It's all right here on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Now, back to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
Next question.
Welcome back. Happy Earth Day from the pregame show to you. All my Earthlings out there, all my aliens out there hanging out in Mars, Venus, Uranus. Just needed to say it. Yeah, I'm 5 years old, so what? I took an astronomy class, and the professor would refuse to call it that. They tried to say like Uranus or whatever, and then he made a point to say at the start of the semester, yeah, and I would appreciate if everyone just pronounced it that way. All right, we're all in college now. Shouldn't be, acting like children. It's like, have you been around college kids, professor? They're even worse than children. Way worse. Uranus, please. It's always Uranus. Anyways, shout out Earth Day. It's not Uranus Day. Well, I'll leave that there. From the Xfinity Mobile text line, as we were talking about before, I cracked myself. It's a Monday. Let's have some fun. Who cares? Again, it's a potpourri, a poo-poo platter, a buffet style of what's on your mind, Bay Area sports fans, because we got a lot happening this week. Giants, they're in full swing of things. It's not May quite yet, but I think you can see a little foundation of what the Giants could be and what they could not be. They're a sub-500 team, and they're just, treading water right now, but so is everyone in the NL West. The Warriors, well, they're on the couch for what feels like the earliest time in quite some time. When all three guys are healthy, that being the big three, Steph, Clay, and Dre. So, what are the moves that need to be done? And before the break, I asked, what is that singular move you are looking for, Warriors fans? Just one. What's your one thing as we're doing Earth Day today? Shout out Odyssey. 408 from the Xfinity Mobile text line. Hate that I missed the Marks interview. The question is, can Clay and CP3 walk, give the Warriors some cap space? Well, 408, let me pull up my soundboard, and I will let you know that. This is what Bobby Marks, again, capologist for ESPN when it comes to all things NBA salary, drafts, compensation, everything. He's the guy that knows his stuff, former GM for the Brooklyn Nets. Here's what Bobby Marks had to say with Willard and Dibbs last Thursday in regards to flexibility this offseason for the team.
July 1st. That's when basically the clock resets as far as where you are financially. July 1st is a date to circle, and I think, certainly Chris's contract gets guaranteed on June 28th. So you'll know by the end of June as far as where Golden State will be going into free agency as far as from a flexibility standpoint.
Circle July 1st. If the Warriors are indeed looking to get a star. I just don't think they're going to get one. I think Warriors fans are setting themselves up for disappointment this offseason if they think they're going to get another superstar besides Steph Curry. It's just not in the cards if you are bringing back Klay Thompson. But if that is your one thing, again, we're talking one thing for the Warriors. Here's more from Bobby Marks in regards to whether young assets are enough to acquire a star.
I mean, you got Podziemski, you've got Moody, and you've got draft picks. And Trace Jackson-Davis, right? Those are your, take Kuminga out of the equation. So what are those three? Draft equity, and then you add that big contract there. So I certainly think so. I think that from the young player's perspective, you do. I don't think you have to put Kuminga in. It's just a matter of kind of who that player is who's available.
And as we've known, it's not the greatest offseason right now when it comes to stars. I think Mark Willard, I should say, to Bobby Marks, be more specific. Asked him about Lauri Markkanen. Is that doing it for us, Warrior fans? Lauri Markkanen. And it's interesting to see what the Jazz are going to do. I mean, they're a young and up-and-coming team. I know they kind of tanked for half the year But that first half, they were pretty actually decent. From the Xfinity Mobile text line, 925, you took an elementary school class in college. What a waste of money. Joke's on you, buddy. Community college in California is free. Ha! So there you go. And also, doesn't hurt to learn about your solar system. 925 probably thinks the earth is flat, though, so maybe I'll just leave that there. I'll respond to 408, who says, thank you, Spadonuts. You're welcome. And I'll allow Spadonuts. That's one I didn't hear before. Willard and Dibbs, when I was on that iteration of the show, way back at another building. 408, Oreo cookie. My God, why don't you call in an Oreo cookie? 888-957-9570. You've been cheating on me. You're going to the morning roast. Gone big times. He's graduated from the AAA. He's going to the big leagues. All right, fair enough. He's tempted to drop Snell from your fantasy team. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're panicking early on. It's not even May. Guys like Snell, who didn't get any practice, didn't get any AAA time, who's even alluded that he's still rusty. Take a deep breath. Step back. He'll be fine. Is he going to be a Cy Young? No, he is not. He's not going to be a Cy Young this year, but that's okay. The Giants don't need him to be a Cy Young. You know why? Because they have the Cy Young favorite right now. And that's maybe means nothing in April 22nd, 2024. But that's Logan Webb. Guy's a baller. He's a runner-up last year. And if he just keeps on this pace, he's going to win it this year. Guy's unbelievable. Guy's nails. Unfortunately, a team that is not nails is the Sacramento Kings, by the way. Oof. That was tough. Misery loves company. And right now, the Warriors just saw the Kings get bounced by the Pelicans, and they're looking at the Denver Nuggets and being like, please, sweep the Lakers again. Please. That's what they're hoping. Clippers, they're the only one holding water right now in the state of California. They got a dub. 510, Xfinity Mobile text line. Who is gettable, and can we really afford anyone who will move the needle? That's the thing. It's going to be very tough, as we've heard from Bobby Marks, to thread this needle. With this second tax apron, it makes things very difficult. It kind of puts handcuffs on the maneuverability of, a team like Golden State when it comes to Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob. And in years past, you can buy your way out of things. And now they're saying, no. We're not allowing you to do that. And if you are going to do that, you're going to get penalized as such. So your options are few and far between. Now, we'll take a step back and see how things are after the playoffs end, because there will be, going back to this word, disgruntled players potentially who want to look elsewhere, and maybe they can reciprocate a trade. But as we've heard from Bobby Marks, again, ESPN capologist who was on with Willard and Dibbs last Thursday, even if there's a trade partner, the salaries have to match up. And I don't know who's taking Andrew Wiggins. Again, I was beating the drum for this a while ago. Got to move off this guy. You can't continue to count on him. What's going to happen with Chris Paul and his salary? My money would be on he is not coming back. And then after that, what's going to go on with Klay Thompson? So there's so many different question marks. It really is hard to narrow it down to one thing, and that's what I'm doing to all of you this morning. Prioritize one thing. And I don't think it's as simple as, it can be a second star player. Because I think you'd have to say goodbye to Klay Thompson, goodbye to Andrew Wiggins, and are fans okay with that? I guess I should ask. And potentially goodbye to Jonathan Kuminga. See that? If you've learned anything from the NBA playoffs and just one game in, or just going back to last year, you need depth. And you need young guys. And in the West, you need both. Yes, it helps to have Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. And that leadership, and that acumen, and that playoff medal, all of that. You need depth, though, and you need size, and you need youth. Look at Denver. Look at Boston. Two best teams in each conference. They have a plethora of both. Hell, even depth-wise, the Nuggets, that's the thing we've been knocking on them all year, right? Oh, the depth, I don't know. Come playoff time, they're a little shallow. Well, seemed to kick up another gear. KCP did his thing. And then it was over. They were daring KCP to shoot. Contavious Caldwell-Pope made 4 threes in the second half. It was night-night. AD and LeBron had pretty good games. And they just needed someone else to step up outside of Taurean Prince driving it to the lane for the bajillionth time and getting stuffed. And D'Angelo Russell thought he was that guy. He's not in the playoffs. D-Low. Yeah, the emphasis is L-O-W because that's his stock in the playoffs. That's what it should be called. Austin Reeves. God love him. If he's not hitting shots, he's also a turnstile. They're missing Jared Vanderbilt. And Gabe Vincent, where's he at? That was a baller against the Nuggets last year. He was a baller in the playoffs. They're just saying, whatever. Yeah, we're good. That's Darvin Ham, though. Coaching matters, people. Coaching matters. And I've already seen some people. I think we need to move on from Steve Kerr. Yeah. Most people are smoking crack. 888-957-9570 is the number. We're up against it. One more break. One more segment before handing it off to Bonta and Shasky. What's the one thing you're doing for the Golden State Warriors this offseason? That's my question to you, plus more of NBA playoffs on the other side on 95.7 The Game.
on 95.7 The Game.
Tim? That's my friend Tim Roy on the rejoin, I should say. Voice of your Golden State Warriors, whose season ended in ugly fashion, getting blown out against the Sacramento Kings, who in turn got blown out against the New Orleans Pelicans, although the Pelicans almost jobbed it, but they were controlling the whole game. So Pelicans knocking out the Kings, Kings knocking out the Warriors. What does that mean for Golden State and their hierarchy in the Western Conference? Where are they at when it all stacks up at the end? Right now, they're a playing team. You are what your record says you are. Shout out Bill Parcells, again, going back to the NFL draft. And yes, you can look at it as they were an above 500 team, and if this was last year, last year was last year, this is this year, and next year is next year. And right now, they need to do something to vault themselves back in to being a championship contender. It's not enough to have Stephen Curry. It's not enough to have Draymond Green. It's not enough to have Klay Thompson, who could be gone. Yes, Jonathan Kuminga is a nice piece. Can he take that next step to be your team's third, second best player? And is that good enough? Brandon Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis, nice pieces, should make the all-rookie team. But what does their ceiling look like? Are they just scratching the surface? Or is this the highest we're going to see? Because you know what? And I'm not comparing him to this guy, but we've seen this in the past. In a lost year, and I get it, this was, when it comes to the development of the young guys, it was not a lost year in that perspective. But I saw Eric Paschall be an all-rookie first-teamer, right? With the Golden State Warriors. Guy was out of the league in 2 seconds. I get it. Different player, but that's how fast things can change in the NBA. 1 year, you're all-rookie team, and then you're gone. They have to build on what they did as rookies. Now, it's a good start, but what if Chris Paul moves on? I attribute a lot of the development for these guys when it comes to Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, Pajemski, all of them, to Chris Paul. And should that be a priority for Warriors this offseason? Getting Chris Paul back, which sounds crazy. If I told you that a year ago, hell, a year ago at this time, he wouldn't even been on the Warriors, but things happen fast. I saw Dame Lillard as the Bucks handled the Pacers in 888-957-9570. The one thing you are looking for the Golden State Warriors to get done this offseason, my question to you. Morning Roast up in 7 minutes. Bontail and Joe Shasky, they'll give their thoughts as well as the Giants splitting their 4-game series against Arizona and the NFL draft awaiting this Thursday. What's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk, or is nothing going to happen? He just stands pat. The Niners stand pat, and they still negotiate. We shall see. But Dame Lillard was like, yeah, I remember going to Coachella last year. This is the earliest I've been bounced, and I've never been to Coachella before. So he knows what it's like. Stephen Curry is finally getting a taste of what it is like. Now, he hasn't had this taste since he was his rookie year. Getting bounced this early, and I get it. And I should say the play-in a couple years ago, but that was the pandemic year. Dates were all shifted. It was different. No Clay. The expectations weren't as high. But now you're 2 years removed from a title. How's Stephen Curry feeling? That's really what it comes down to me. He has an opportunity to do something he hasn't really needed to do in his career. That's kind of entice other free agents. What we in the Bay, and I don't say we, I say a lot of Bay Area fans, like to make fun of LeBron James for, Le Recruiter, all this stuff. But it works. The guy is a great businessman and it can sell anything. Whether that's Los Angeles, and listen, Los Angeles isn't hard to sell, but sell playing with him. in being the number 2 option. That's hard for a lot of people to swallow their pride and do that. LeBron, he did with Anthony Davis. Now, takes a trade partner and takes all of that. But first, you need to get the free agent to buy in or the trade piece to buy in. Olympics coming up. We'll see. Maybe there's, going back to that word, a disgruntled star. Maybe, just maybe. Mike Dunleavy, general manager of your San Francisco Giants. I heard San Francisco in the background. I think Lubman and Shasky are going back and forth. Of your Golden State Warriors, who I thought had a magnificent year when it comes to drafting the young guys, when it comes to that Chris Paul trade. I know losing Jordan Poole is hard, and that was tough, and he had to be the guy to rip off that Band-Aid. It just wasn't going to work here after the punch and everything, the dark cloud over the organization, although I think that dark cloud's still lingering. But I thought overall, this was a B to B plus year for Mike Dunleavy. A lot of people would argue different. They were one and done in the play-in. For what you've asked of Bob Myers in the past, I thought Mike Dunleavy did that and more when it comes to hitting on 2 rookies. When was the last time the Warriors did that? Way back when. But here's Dunleavy talking about the mutual interest for Clay to come back.
No, I think it's a mutual feeling. I mean, the guy's been here a long time. He means so much to the organization. You know, we really, really value him. And so there's nothing that would make me think that he wants to go somewhere else or we don't want him back. And for that reason, I'm hopeful we can make it happen. But, you know, it's a deal. Both sides got to be good with it. And we'll work through that. But I think, you know, hopeful, I'm optimistic I am about it.
And I guess the ultimate question for Warriors fans this summer is, you know, going after that star or that marquee player and the viability of that, Mike.
The premise of getting better, that's what we got to look at for sure. So that'll be taken into consideration. We also got to be mindful of the player, who it is, the age of the player, the skill set of the player. It's all got to fit to be able to put the chips on the table to make a move. So those are the things we'll kind of look at and evaluate. But yeah, there's multiple ways to get better, and that's certainly one of them.
Certainly one of them. I love GM speak and I love coach speak and all this sort of stuff. Just, it's lying season too. Already, once your season ends, you're looking at the big picture. And I remember last year during this time, oh yeah, you know, Jordan Poole is here to stay. He gone. So I don't believe in anything these guys are saying right now, but it's early. And the team needs to make some sort of change. And how much of that loss to the Kings impacts the offseason, Mike?
Yeah, honestly, not a lot. I don't take that game into consideration too much. That was the worst game we played all year. Give credit to Sacramento. They did a great job. But, you know, I watched this team for 82 games. I mean, the amount of times that we've been ran off the court, very few. I think there were a couple of home games in January. Obviously the Boston game where that was a different scenario. But, you know, that was a game last night where I think or the other night where you got to be careful of like overreacting to how it went. I don't think that represented our team on the whole for the season. But that being said, it kind of put the stamp on what the reality of this year was. So here we are. And I would say going into that game, whether win or lose, no matter how it happened, I knew we had to get better.
I get where he's coming from. And I get you can't boil everything into one game, but you kind of can in this case. Like, I know it's not football, but the play-in is literally one game in advance. It is survive in advance. And you came into that game, into hostile territory, a place that you had no problem winning a couple times last year in the playoffs. You went into that building and laid an egg. Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, damn near everyone outside of Stephen Curry. And even Steph didn't have a great game. Turnovers, galore. Like, that was just an ugly game that was emblematic. And I know what Mike's trying to say, but that was emblematic of the team all season long. They can beat anybody, but they can lose to anybody. And more often than not, they're probably losing to that team that's good because they're over 500 record was a majority, you know, against bad teams, if you will. So, respectfully, I disagree with Mike. I think you can look at that loss, and I think it should impact this offseason mightily. Because if I'm the Kings and I look at that loss to the Pelicans, I think they're looking at themselves like, no, we need to make changes and fast. Now, that Harrison Barnes deal, that Spadoni deal, yikes. I don't know how much change that they can make, but maybe they'll try to get creative. We shall see. It's going to be an interesting offseason, to say the least, but the NBA playoffs are still upon us. We'll be breaking it all down all postseason long right here on 95.7 The Game. But next, Bonta Hill, Joe Shasky, Morning Roast, 95.7 The Game.
Yay!